G'day team, today we are covering Brazilian Challengers Split 1. They are on LAN, which is super exciting, and I wanted to cover this match because it caught my eye. It went to 30 rounds, and also it was a triple Sentinel comp ran by ODK, where you run Chamber, Killjoy, and Sage all in the same comp with Viper and Sova. Invented by G2 originally last year and then further developed by Fnatic, who took the comp and ran with it, becoming super dominant on Icebox, especially during that Chamber meta. And now that we're in sort of the post-Chamber dominance meta, where Killjoy is the main controller on a lot of maps, I wanted to see how well the Chambers still fit within this triple Sentinel comp. Now, the thing about this comp is with 3 Sentinels, of course, you're going to be very strong on defense and very weak on attack. We actually had 2 9-3 halves, and then we had 6 overtime rounds, eventually ODK breaking. And then we had 6 overtime halves with eventually ODK breaking this defensive stronghold that was overtime and getting that first attacking round. And I want to show round 8 here because it shows the defensive setup that ODK go for with this comp. You get the mid control from Killjoy. This is sort of a default thing that you do with Killjoy on Icebox. Killjoy is fantastic on Icebox for this mid control because she's able to watch tunnel and the undertube cross that you normally get with this Viper orb that comes in from the attackers. And then you get the alarm bot for anyone pushing through the Viper orb to a link. So she can most efficiently cover all 3 of those routes. We round that out with this nano swarm here to deny any plants. That will go through the Sage orb and hit all of this front part of sight. We have the Viper contesting early and Sage playing back in B site. They're going to use Sage Wall a lot for just protecting the diffuser in this comp. It's rounded out with a bit of help from the Sova dart here. Chamber gets into this very early aggressive position very often, using the TP on the right side of site here in the little pocket in front of generator. Does also sometimes use the TP here and get up onto pipes, which is a doable thing now. I really like that TP too. And he's going to get this Chamber trip in a very forward position to give early information if he needs to get out, if he's getting pushed from a lobby while he's taking this fight on Belt. Chamber pops his ultimate, he gets that trip down, and he's looking up towards Belt. He is trying to take this fight. He's not going to get this pick this time. It's a little bit of a weird angle, but you can see just sort of unscopes at the wrong time. Too cautious about that person pushing in from lobby in toward jail. Would have actually been a nice idea here for the Killjoy or for any player to sort of push in towards this jail position. You might be able to pick out this Chamber, although you are sort of dry peeking a Chamber off in that fight regardless. But he does TP away and falls back. You can see the amount of util here over towards the B site. It's going to make it quite hard for the attacking team Liberty to push in. But they go very, very slowly. They drone out. You know, against this no duelist comp, as soon as you find out where the Chamber is, it's pretty easy to sort of slowly contact up as a group. And ODK's happy to let them sort of come back to B main. Where they're going to be strongest is fighting around this area of the map, denying space. You know, the Sage slow, the Nano Swarm. Actually have a Viper lineup coming that's going to land in the back of yellow, making this unable to be fought from and forcing fights into either side of yellow and out of main. And all of this is just stalling for the rest of the team to come in for this retake. They do have the KJ ult on hand as well, so they're going to be using that in the retake. And so here's that Viper lineup for yellow, and it's actually combined here with a shock dart. I think he ends up sending 2 down towards yellow as well. And this is a really nice combo that you use. Because Viper's molly inflicts vulnerability, that means you take double damage, which means a single shock dart can kill you if it's accurate enough. You can also use this in post plant to deny defusers. I think they get the timing a little bit wrong there. The shock dart might come in early. I think it does. Maybe it wasn't even a combo to be planned. I just noticed that shock dart flying in. I'm going to try and get more plant denial here with the molly. That's what this comp is really good at, just stopping the enemy team, the attackers, from planting. But they do manage to get the plant down and get back. And look at the util here from... So Liberty is able to get the plant down. They have the Sage Wall here and the Sova drone. And that is all they've got left. All of their mollies and stall utility. Liberty was able to get through, and ODK now in a tough position with only these 2 bits of regular util to help them with this defuse. But they do have the KJ ult as well, which is obviously a really big tool in being able to push the attackers right back. There's sort of 2 main retake ults that you can use here on defense as KJ. You can put one right here, which sort of pushes the defenders all the way out of main and pushes them to fight in yellow. And if this is an intentional decision to plant here to counteract this KJ ult, it's a great play here from Liberty, because forcing them to yellow is actually kind of where they want to be to fight for this defuse and deny it. And so ODK have a choice to make. They can go for this ult and just try and fight yellow and take these duels, or they can go for a more aggressive ult and try and push them all the way out of yellow and push them back into main, which is what they're going to try and do. And I like the decision. It is a risk that you have to take. But as you can see here, this is going to break down. So In the next 10 seconds, we get the drone. And then right as the Killjoy ult gets planted, they have someone on the defuse and the Viper orb pops up. Liberty's decision to plant here rather than the default spot just coming up massive in this round, because it also forces ODK to use the Sage wall horizontally rather than being able to have a vertical wall here. But ODK's timing here to start this push, they get the orb up here, which also denies the information about the Sage wall and whether it's broken, and making it a little bit harder to spam through. Maybe your bullets end up accidentally going across two different walls here. And even with this added protection, Pepper actually does a really nice job of spamming this wall. But they get someone on the defuse as soon as the KJ ult pops as well. And so Sova, Zenatsu all the way back here has to make a decision. He's either got to use his Hunter's Fury to deny the Killjoy's lockdown, or to deny the plant. So they've got to make a choice to fight for something. And he decides to go for the lockdown, which I think is, again, a great decision. And that's what ODK want. They want to try and gamble that they can get this defuse off. But Liberty just kind of go nuts in the next 5 seconds. So ODK, they're out of gas at this point. They get the Sage wall up and they go for this gamble that by forcing Hunter's Fury onto the Killjoy lockdown, they can hopefully get this defuse. With the extra protection from this orb on the Sage wall, maybe the shots don't break the Sage wall in the right way and they're able to just fight this yellow positioning. A couple of problems with that is that Chambers in this high position, so he actually has to sort of peek out and take this fight first. And then Jacob and Blood don't have great positioning as they swing out. They kind of give a little bit of a 1v1. And FZN, who's on server in the back of Snowman, is actually under fire from this Hunter's Fury a little bit, taking him right on the line. So he's got an awkward fight too. And Liberty just clean them up outside yellow. They just take these fights. They get the op online. They get 2. See Sova goes down and then an op duel to finish. Really great round breaking down that defense against the triple sentinels. All right, so round 14, something crazy happens and ODK almost lose the match right here. They end up going to overtime probably because of this match. ODK up against a full eco here from Liberty, pretty much as tight as an eco as you can have. Almost no util on all of these players, and then only a sheriff on Tockers. You can see their econ's not great, and so this is a must-win round for them. And so what happens is Zenatsu gets a nice opening trade here against ODK with the classic. Very nicely done. Then ODK decide that they're going to rotate. Jacob decides to stick around for a little bit longer, playing with his turret there on A, which I really don't like here. There could be anyone just around any of that corner with a shorty or something like that. And then this is a terrible trip. Look at the radius of this thing. What are you stopping? What are you stopping? Your Killjoy's not even watching your back here because Killjoy's going deep into A. And Liberty have another great read. They walk out through mid. They check behind them. They don't even go and get the gun that they could pick up from Belt. They just want to keep pressing because they have a great timing here. With all of these guns, they should be able to look, and they just see it in time. Zenatsu. Huge. They even smoked themselves off from the trip here. ODK, and this is just crazy round here. A little bit of a util pull out there from Zenatsu, but now it's down to a 2v2. Still only a classic and a sheriff in the hands of ODK. But they do have the info on the Sage there. Just waiting for Killjoy to remain. And Tockers ends up getting picked off by that. KJ coming back late through mid. But then Jacob decides to take this fight. While Blood is planting, Blood is unable to come out and trade this. He's getting the spike down. All Jacob needs to do is just jiggle this and stall. But he full commits to that fight. Zenatsu gets 4 and then he's one tap, but he's left in a 1v1. All he needs to do is hit the shot first. Very winnable situation at this point. That's what he does. And you get a full eco classic ace. He picks up the gun for the last 2, but those first 3 with the classic. That cannot happen if you're ODK. That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. Great round for Zenatsu overall. Playing well with his team there. He gets all the frags, but you know, he's there with his team trading out kills. And we see this trip again here from ODK. I don't know why they keep going for this. It's so easy for someone to walk through garage if they do go B. What I'm thinking is that Tesora is playing in garage, and so he doesn't want someone pushing up on B long and catching him off guard. But if you just put the trip back here, it still catches all of this as well. So I think this is just a low value trip. Like, it's just inoptimal compared to the alternative. There's just a objectively better trip that you can place. And I think even post the chamber nerfs, this comp is a viable comp. You just have to figure out the optimizations for it and playing in the right positions. I think overall, the comp still does what it was intended to do. And the chamber nerfs don't limit that. But anyways, ODK are going to group up here on B. Dart gets the first opening pick on FZK. He just peeks out before the drone for some reason. I guess it's round 30. Maybe his brain's a bit fatigued, but that's again, another unforgivable mistake. You're droning out. Why are you peeking ahead of the drone? You're droning regardless. The Dart gets a free one. He gets off of yellow as he's tagged by that drone and sets himself up for another kill here. Jacob getting a really nice lurk into A though. And this is giving them a lot of space. But on the other side of it, Tonka's here in mid in a really deep forward position. He's going to hear all of that running. And he doesn't peek it. Actually, does a couple of times, but what I mean is the timing, he actually just waits for them to all run through, gathers that info. And now he's in this really great position where he can fast flank. I think he actually takes way too long here. I think that's what costs Liberty this round is Tonka's, after hearing all of those footsteps, he would have heard all four. So I would be getting myself at least to this position by now as soon as you've heard all four run past, and then getting into a deeper position and slowly like aggressing up quickly, you know, even getting up that belt so you can see down this line. And Liberty, they do well to rotate here pretty quickly because Tonka's is in that very forward information, getting those audio cues. But an early trade comes out, and then Jacob makes this mistake. He puts his turret facing here. We've got 3 sentinels and no flank protection. If Jacob puts his turret up on this belt, they're much better protected. That would see all the way down here and all the way onto this belt cross as well, alerting you as soon as someone's putting you in a risky position, especially if you're playing in this sort of tight maze quadrant. And so they start pushing in, and Tonka's, you know, still in this sort of area where he probably could take a little bit more space. So what Tonka's is doing here is waiting for the main retake to come through before he takes contact. Because if there's someone watching this angle, he's worried that he's not going to be able to get up and get a lurk and shoot all of them in the back of the head. The problem with that is that Spike has been down for 20 seconds already and his teammates aren't on site. If you're going to commit to this lurk and go slow, it takes you another 8 seconds to get to this corner here. So then all of a sudden you've really only got 10 seconds left in the fight to defuse. So he's giving himself no room to work with. And if he were to jiggle this and then start creating this pressure early, he's taking eyes away from this fight and splitting the attacker's fights, allowing for an easier retake for the rest of his team. All he has to do is make himself known and make himself a threat. He doesn't have to full commit to fights, but he can just make his presence known. Jiggle this, get up to this angle, jiggle this, get up to this angle, jiggle this, fire, fire, fire. If these guys have to look backwards just for a second, that could be a second that someone swings out here and kills them. It's not what ends up happening, and he ends up arriving just too late for the fight. They clean up one, they trade out two. There's a nice shot here from Tesora to hit that. He TPs back, he gets killed, but then Jacob knows exactly where Toxus is coming from. Toxus doesn't know exactly where Jacob is, and Jacob's able to flick over and win this fight and clutch up the round. It ends up being a really scrappy fight at the end with lots of different ways that things could be played to make it easier for both teams there. This is tier 2 Valorant, so I'm not expecting these teams to be perfect. You know, they do have some nice ideas overall with what they're doing, but maybe there's not a full understanding of their comp or their positioning in certain situations, and their util usage and spacing definitely could be improved for both of these teams. But overall, really exciting things happening for Brazilian Valorant in their Challengers Split 1.